Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 80th Stately Office Hours. I'm sorry I'm not wearing a special hat. I should have thought about
It's
wearing
like a special hat.
Yeah, it is a special hat. It's just it's not a crown or something like that. Maybe we should be wearing, I don't know, what do you wear on your 80th? Who knows? Let us know in the comments, perhaps. This is where us, the team at Stately, let you know everything that is going on with Stately and with XState. Starting off, as we do every time, with introducing you to the team who are here today. And so I'm Laura. I do advocacy, education, bits of other stuff for Stately. David, who are you, as if your tagline doesn't say so already?
Hey, I'm David K, founder, Stately.
And creator of XState, very important, not in there.
Forgot about that.
And Nick, how about you?
And I am Nick in product design.
This is just a challenge to see if you were able to point at your tagline.
It's like, where's the side? This one.
I'm not sure I can. Oh, there we go.
Well, you got a first try.
We're practicing for the Apple Vision Pro. Just getting those finger movements correct.
So we have quite a lot to share with you. It's been a little while since our last office hours. But first of all, I wanted to remind you, if you are joining us live, thank you very much. I can already see that a few of you are having a chat in the YouTube comments, trying to stay awake. I hope that we keep you awake. And if you have any questions for us, whether you are on X, or LinkedIn, or Twitch, or even, no, what was the other one? YouTube, that's the one. Then you can ask us questions in the comments and we will be able to see them here and answer them for you live. Magic. So please just let us know if you have anything you want to ask. So first up, I was going to show you one of the cool new features that we have got in the studio. So forgive my light mode. That is how I roll during the day, especially on these, as the days are getting lighter now. So I'm going to show you a really cool feature that sort of builds upon our existing GitHub integration, or GitHub sync, as we call it. And I was just going to show you right from the very beginning a little trick that I wrote. So if you go to our docs and you search for bookmarklet, oh, I typed that right first time, how unusual. Here you can get the GitHub bookmarklet. And I say bookmarklet, yeah, it's a little bit of script and I just made the link look fancy. But you can drag this to your toolbar. Doesn't have to be in Chrome, can be in any browser. And now, if I go to a GitHub repo, so this is just a repo I made earlier with my little white noise machine. So you can see this is an XState machine here. Pretty cool, pretty conventional. Now I'm going to press my magic bookmarklet button. What this is going to do is it's going to open this file up in Stately Studio. Voila, here is my machine visualized. Now it's actually quite a big machine, so it can be hard to see. There you go. So this is my machine, looking lovely. So maybe I want to make some changes to my machine. I'm going to switch around the sounds. So this is a white noise machine, and you can toggle between the sound of white noise or waves or a fan. And I'm going to say, actually, I want the second toggled sound to be fan and the third one to be waves. So I'm just going to move these around like this. Make sure we don't mess it up too badly. Right, no errors, so that's a sign that it's all looking in the right position. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, change the layout a little bit, make it look good. And now I have the option to create a pull request with those changes that I've made to the machine. And it even shows me the changes that I've made in the machine as well in this little diff before I create the pull request, because even if you're no coding or low coding, sometimes you want to see that it's producing good code, which of course Stately Studio does. And so I've got the layout string there. And if I scroll down, you can see here I've changed the target for the white noise state. If you toggle sound, it now targets fan instead of waves. And there we go. And for the fan, it targets waves instead of white noise. So I can create my pull request and do a little dance, wait for it to do its thing. There we go. And I now have a pull request created. So I can click to open that and it will load me up in GitHub. And I have a pull request, just like magic, ready to share back. Didn't have to touch a code editor. didn't have to touch any code. So if you're out and about on your phone or something like that, very easy way to make a change. Or if you just want to do something really quickly. So this is kind of similar to what we had before we had the single file GitHub import, and you can still, you might remember if you've been with us for a while, that what you could previously do is if you were viewing that file, you could change the .com in the browser window to .stately.ai, and that would have the same effect. Oh, I think I just hit the wrong thing. I don't think that's a studio issue. I think that was a me issue. But anyway, that's what you could have done. And it would create the same effect. It's just now I've made the bookmarklet to make it that little bit easier to get going. So another thing that I just very quickly wanted to show you before we exit out of the studio. Now I'll have to go to a bigger project for this. Here we go. Little 7 GUIs project that I've got going on. We now have, I'm going to zoom it right in, this little magic button here. So if you have a long project with a lot of machines in it, and you can now order these. So that's going to make a huge amount of difference, helping you find your files, and you can order them by name or by last updated, first updated, and hopefully that will make it much easier to navigate your massive projects. Anything else I need to show folks in the studio while I'm here, you two?
Well,
I
we
think I've
actually,
covered all of it.
yeah, we recently just upgraded the while you're in the studio, we updated the code export for XState v5, and we actually just released it, so hopefully everything works as it worked in dev. But
so if you now go to, let me,
yeah, stretch
so
that
now
out
if
a
you're
little bit.
exporting from here and you choose v5,
Mhm.
there we go. We got setup. Setup is in
Yes.
there. So that's one of the additions that you've made recently.
And yeah, hit Command Save in there. So this will automatically format by default once you select v5. But yeah, so there you go.
Very
so now
nice.
it's nicely formatted, and everything is at the latest XState version 5 syntax inside of here. Yeah, so this should solve a lot of problems where the exported code was not exactly matching what the current syntax was. So please try it out. We literally just released it on a Friday, like a few minutes ago. But yeah.
Great. So yeah, let us know how it goes for you. That'd be good to hear. So John asks, will that work if I define my machine inside a createActorContext? Now, I'm assuming that you are talking about importing from a GitHub file. That's a good question. What do you reckon, David?
It should be able to. So the way that we do it, there's a lot of TypeScript / AST trickery happening in order to get this to work. So yeah, if it's just wrapped in a create machine, then it should be able to edit the machine definition inside of that config.
And Nick says, "Oh, nice! I love setup."
Mm-hmm.
And just skipping over to Martin's question, setup is in. Does sources link to setup as well? That's a good question.
Not quite yet. That's part of the bigger change, partially because the idea of a project is you could define many different machines or, actor logic. But right now we only export one machine at a time. So the question becomes, do we want to have a single gigantic export with all of your machines in there and then have it reference that? Which, I mean, that's simple enough to do, but it might not be desirable. Or do we want to have a way for you to, export multiple files? I'm not sure how that would work. I guess you could just download as a zip or something like that. Or, ideally just link straight to your GitHub. But that is still something that we're working on, just figuring that out.
Or maybe folks let us know what would be useful for you, and we can see whether we can get that going. Here we go. I hope I say this right, and if I don't, please correct me. Facundo Flores. Hey folks, recently opened a question on the Discord help. I'm wondering how to inject services with createActorContext when you use setup for improved type inference. So I'm thinking this is some sort of actor setup situation going on here.
Yeah, and just a reminder, you could go to our Discord for support, and we'll get to you when we can. This is a question about well, in X8 version 5, they're not services, they're actors. So that might solve your problem already. And the typings should be intact when you override the current actors with some custom actors in your create actor context. So I will definitely get to the Discord after this call and answer your question.
And if you want to know everything that has changed between XState v4 and XState v5, Kevin actually wrote a really great walkthrough blog post recently, which you can find on our blog, which is stately.ai/blog, as simple as that. And you'll be able to see how everything has changed, and quite an in-depth way of looking at all of the different things that you could do to change your project. This is based on Kevin's own experience of migrating a bunch of projects over. So, fabulous. And you get it in dark mode as well.
Or light mode, whatever you want.
Yeah, you can have the docs in there any way you want.
Yeah, and this is a great blog post because it actually shows the process of converting one of our machines from experience of someone who's not like not inside the XState core code base every day like me or Mateusz, and just experiencing it and writing down his experiences. So yeah, this is a really, really great guide on migrating from v4 to v5.
It's incredibly detailed. Now, John asks, is it fair to say that best practices and guidelines around TypeScript support are in flux? Seems to be more than one way to do things: setup, no setup, types.actors, setup.actors, etc. Is typegen still up in the air?
So we are cleaning up the documentation so that there is really one preferred way to do things, which is using setup and also trying to do as much as you can without typegen. So typegen was sort of a big band-aid for X8 v4 because TypeScript wasn't capable enough of just expressing everything we needed to express. And TypeScript did advance a lot when we released X8 v5. So that's why our initial approach right now is trying to do as much as we can without typegen. And there is still more to go, but if you want full TypeScript supports, the preferred way to do that is by using setup. And we do have TypeScript documentation as well, which, I mean, we're also just, where is it? We are continuously adding to the documentation. So if you have any questions, just please look in here. This is just some TypeScript advice. And also in the individual pages, you will see information about TypeScript. So if you go to, for example, the bottom, we have TypeScript guides there for you too. And again, the preference is going to be using setup for typing.
The search should be pretty useful for that if you're inside of the docs. What you just came across there, David, is when you're on the blog, the search favors the blog. When you're in the docs,
Right.
the search favors the docs. So there is a whole TypeScript section at the top of the docs. And yeah, as you've shown there, on many of the XState pages, there are specific information about XState and TypeScript. So next up, talking about exciting things, we'll talk about Stately Inspect. Now, you can now inspect your Node and browser-based apps using Inspect, can't you? It's a createSkyInspector. That's the right name for it.
Yes, this has actually been somewhat quietly released, and we do still have to write a blog post and documentation on it. But the idea is we're now using Stately Sky to inspect machines live. So instead of it having to connect to a browser window, which it still connects to a browser window, but now the Sky Inspector can be used to inspect Node applications. So behind the scenes, we're using our own WebSockets to power this. And also, this is free. It's not a Stately Pro feature. It's something that you could use for free. And so just to demonstrate what happens, I have my Cocoa machine here, which we did a webinar or something about.
Yeah, I think it was the XState v5 webinar.
Yeah, some sort of video. And all right, so there's a tiny thing I released that I have to fix real quick, but you could see that we have, not sure if you could see that well. Instead of create browser inspector, I just replaced that with create Sky Inspector, And that is the only thing that I had to change. And so now you get exactly the same experience. You have your sequence diagram, your actors, and all of your different events. And so, yeah, the big difference, though, you could probably see is right here in the URL. So if you go to this, I mean, don't try to copy it, but you will be able to see from a remote device or, a different window or whatever you want. This is linking to a unique session that's listening via WebSockets for the inspected actors in this window.
It's what John says. This is the exact thing I wanted.
Mhm. Yeah. So it's remote inspection, and it works just as you would expect. So we're still testing this out. Please give it a try. And yeah, right now we still have to work on documentation, but just replace Create Browser Inspector with createSkyInspector, and it should work like magic.
Hey, John, maybe you can try it out and let us know what you think. John says, I tried to build it several times, but always went down other rabbit holes. So we'd appreciate, now that we built it for you, tell us what you think.
Mhm.
So we've had even more updates in the XState realm as well, haven't we, David?
Yes, that is correct. So there's a bunch of new changes. One of these I actually have to make a quick fix after this call. But one of the tiny changes is that when you resolve the states to a value that doesn't exist, so for example, let's say your machine definition updated and you're trying to retrieve state from a database which may be stale, like a few weeks or months old, it will now throw an error if you pass in an incompatible states value. So yeah, just a quick quality of life improvements there. And one of the big things is you can now inspect micro steps. So just a reminder, let me zoom in so you could see that. The XState Inspect API allows you to inspect things at a more granular detail than you can with subscribing. Now, note, this is mainly for inspection. You don't want to use this for actual app logic. You want to use this for just inspecting all the things that happen for debugging and for understanding how the machine is reaching certain states and things like that. But there are two new inspection events, which is microstep. And a microstep is, for example, when you're at a state and an event comes and you transition, but there's maybe always transitions or raised events and things like that might transition through a couple of different states before landing on a specific state. Now you're going to get all of those intermediate values. So basically you're peering into the state machine's mind and you're seeing what it's thinking, what its thought process is as it goes from one state to another state. And another one too, you can now inspect the actions that are executed as they are being executed. So this will log the action object in there. And pretty soon we are going to support this in the actual visual inspector. But for now, you could just inspect those inspection events just in code by writing this observer function right here. Let's see, just a couple of other things. Another quality of life improvement is that useSelector, and this is a huge one because it's something I've been annoyed about for a long time, but now useSelector in both Vue and React, they take either an actor or undefined. So if your actor is not defined yet, and the types will reflect this, then the snapshot will be undefined as well. So this allows you to, instead of like figuring out how to use hooks conditionally, or maybe even creating a different components just so that you could call that useSelector conditionally, now it will accept a potentially undefined actor. So it makes things just a lot easier.
Very cool.
And I think
We have
that's
stunned silence in the comments.
Yeah.
I think that's, yeah, and we already covered that now that the export to XState, both v4 and v5 is improved inside of the studio as well.
Mhm.
Is there anything else that we wanted to cover this week? We've romped through it very quickly.
Yeah. So there are a couple of big things. So Nick and I have been working pretty hard on stately agents. And so stately agents is a wrapper on XState that allows you to use LLM providers to create intelligent state machines. And so what is an intelligent state machine? Well, when you think of LLM agents, like those that you might see in the wild, basically it's very hard to predict what they're going to do. And with a lot of critical application logic, you actually want it to follow these guardrails so that they don't go off the track, they don't do anything unexpected. Basically, you want it to follow a prepared script or something like that. And so that's where state machines really come in handy. So if you go to stately.ai/agents, you can see an overview of what we're working on with Stately Agent, which again is basically an XState wrapper, and it also wraps LLM providers. Right now, it's OpenAI, but pretty soon we're going to add adapters for other languages too. And so I'll just briefly talk about this. This is an example that this is an awesome state machine that Nick made. Did you use Midjourney for these? These look awesome.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe Dolly.
Okay.
It was definitely an AI because, why not? But
yes.
AI inception.
There's some non-tic-tac-toe characters in there, so yeah.
yeah.
But it's okay.
I picked the one that was closest. It did its best.
Yeah, it always does funny things with text, that's for sure.
So this is a simple example of basically a tic-tac-toe game. So let's say you want an agent that understands the game of tic-tac-toe and makes the correct moves in the correct order to try to win. So having a controlled way of doing that and understanding all of the moves played and what it should play next, and also the correct events to send the machine, that's where Stately Agent becomes really powerful, because you're basically providing the agent's logic with a way of understanding the state machine. So it's understanding the game that it's currently playing, whether it's tic-tac-toe or any other sort of game. But of course, it could be used for much more than just games. I also just wrote documentation for Stately Agent. And so you could see we have 4 different types of agent logic. You could do from chat, which is just your simple chat interface. And these all create actor logic. So you could use these as normal actors, which make them really, really flexible. From chat stream, which I know streaming has been sort of tricky to get right in a lot of applications, but that's what powers the the cool typing feeling and interface that you see in many AI apps. So now, since we're using XState, this is just an observable actor, and so you could just convert from chat to from chat stream and get those emitted snapshots. There's also from events, which is super powerful because from event actually reads the state machine that it's in, and it determines which events it should take next. And so it does it contextually. So you would provide it a schema that says, for example, should I stay or should I go? And you give it the JSON schema, which this is what OpenAI expects. And you tell it, these are how these events should look. And so based on the current state, if you invoke this in a state that has those events, it would decide which events to take, and then it would just execute that event. And similarly, there's from tool, which is just a simple actor logic for choosing a tool. So for example, let's say you could make an illustration or get the weather for a location. There's a run function, which could be async or not. It's just a simple function. You give it the input schema so that it determines what kind of input it should pass into that function. And then you could just run it. You could use it within the state machine, or you could use it standalone. And of course, we do have a bunch of examples to share with you. For example, creating a joke, playing tic-tac-toe, getting the weather. And I just added this one too, which is a number guesser. And this is actually where state machines come in handy, because what did I do here? Oh, I didn't add it here, but you could add an always condition to bailouts if they guessed way too many times, so that you don't run out of LLMs or LLM tokens. Or you won't run out. It would just be a really expensive bill. But yeah, check it out. It is at stately.ai/agent, and the docs are at stately.ai/docs/agents. And we also have a GitHub repo, github.com/statelyai/agents. Right now it is in alpha. So please try it out, give us feedback, and give us ideas of the kinds of things that you want to build.
John said, can you please flash the agent's URL up, Laura? I anticipated what you wanted rather than rather than doing it in response. I wasn't that quick. Oh, and Eric says, love that top-level domain coming to fruition. That's a reference to stately.ai. Just
Yes.
winding back to our conversation earlier, Nick says, on useSelector, if the actor becomes available on a render, will it still work?
Yeah, yes, it will. So, if it's undefined at first and then it becomes defined, then yeah, it's still going to work.
And John asks, if createSkyInspector works on serverless functions, I can stop stuffing log into every is not a question, it's a statement, sorry. Yeah, into every entry action, which is cool.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. Behind the scenes, it uses PartyKit, which has it uses Cloudflare behind the scenes, and it has very low latency. So if you use it in a function, what it's going to do is just create that that socket connection, send it events, and then be on its merry way. So there's no long running thing that you have to be concerned about.
Very cool. And I hadn't seen the agents page before. It's looking really great. And great docs as well. So much getting done.
Yes.
There was one other thing that I wanted to mention, and that is that if you are someone who is in Europe, you might want to see David speak at Effect Days next week in Austria. So that's going to be fun. David, what are you going to be talking about there?
I'm going to be talking about
perhaps?
Yes. I'm going to be talking about using XState with Effect. And Effect, if you don't know, it's a really awesome way of it basically is like a standard library for TypeScript, but it's also very powerful at managing effects. So the TLDR of my talk is where you would use XStates to define the different steps in a workflow. For instance, you would use effects to actually invoke the different effects that you would want, either as an action or as an invoked actor. And the combination of both just make for really, really powerful workflows. So we're going to be talking about that combination.
Great. And now, folks, if anyone has any more questions, get them in now before you lose your chance, and we'll have to hold on until next time. Although, of course, you can always contact us. We are always at our Discord. If I can find the URL, there we go, which is discord.stately.ai. You can find us on there. You can also find us on most social media platforms as well. We are Stately AI pretty much everywhere. Anything else, Nick, David? Anything else you wanted to talk about today?
Yeah, I'll just add that one of the neat things about Stately Agent and why, especially to people who are watching this and why you might check it out, is it's just XState. So there's nothing really new or different about how it works. An agent is just an actor, except we are able to add some capabilities for this specific context that it might be able to do. So yeah, it's just really cool. Definitely check it out, especially if you haven't played with the AI stuff yet. Now's the time.
And yeah,
maybe we'll get the two of you to do a webinar or something over the next couple of weeks where you can show it in action to everyone here.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah, well, what Nick is saying is correct. Basically, Stately Agent just makes it really easy. Like, this is just 3 lines of code, and one of those lines is a little sad face emoji right there. Yeah, to basically have agent logic, in especially like things like this, like from event, it's probably my favorite one because it's reading the state machine. So it's not just some dumb wrapper around some LLM provider, but it's actually its role is to say, hey, given the state machine that I'm currently operating in, I should figure out what to do next. And in the future, this is going to get really powerful. We're going to add features like, finding the shortest path and doing some things that I was demoing even early last year. That's all going to come into Stately Agent, where basically it's going to say, here's your goal. Try to figure out the correct sequence of events to reach that goal. So yeah, really powerful stuff.
And you can see I just, like, instead of from promise or something, there's from event. It's just that same, if you're familiar with XState, it's the same sort of pattern. You're just creating an actor from the structure.
Exactly.
Very cool. And of course, you'll be able to find more docs for that at where my banner. There we go. Stately.ai/docs/agent. Or if you want to see that page introducing you to the whole of Stately Agent, you can go to stately.ai/agent. Agents.
Just agent.
Just one. Just singular.
Agent.
I think so. Agent.
I think it's
plural in the docs, singular in the thing. We'll set up redirects so it doesn't matter which one you go to. It'll be fine.
Yes.
The internet. Great. John says, missing XState so much on a project I've been assigned to. I'm using useReducer for the first time and calling the dispatch function send so it looks like XState.
That's great. It feels the same.
So I think we'll wrap up there. Thank you everyone so much for joining us. We really appreciate you being here. You make office hours what it is every time. And we will catch you again very soon. Make sure that you follow us on our socials or join us on our Discord server to be the first to find out when our next office hours will be. See you later. Goodbye.
See you all.